Hi everyone, I'm Shelley from Kids Club Early Learning Centres and welcome to our Facebook Live Q&A with childhood food expert and global parenting influencer, Annabel Karmel. If you're
Hello.
watching, hi. If you're watching this, you probably know who Annabel is, but for those who don't, Annabel's the messiah of Munchkin food and has sold 6 million copies of her book globally. She's been featured on TV, radio, magazines the world over, and the menus can be found everywhere from supermarket freezer to famous hotels. But earlier this year, Kids Club announced their exclusive partnership with Annabel to launch a range of menus throughout our childcare centre nationally. The feedback already from the children and the parents have been absolutely amazing. So Annabel, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. I had such an amazing time coming to Australia and looking at some of your amazing nurseries. I was so impressed, and watching the children eat my food, which was wonderful.
It must be such a great experience to see that actually in work, not just in theory.
Yes. I think one of the best moments is when there was a little boy serving another little boy, and he put some on his plate. And then when he'd finished, the boy whose plate it was took his own spoon and put some more on his plate. I thought that was great.
I know, it's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
such independence for them. But Annabel, when we announced we were doing this Facebook Live, we received so many questions. So what will happen, I'll go through some of those, but we'll also be taking some questions live from the audience. So get your keyboards ready. So if you're watching and you have a burning food or nutrition related question, submit it now in the comments section and we'll do our best to get Annabel to answer it for you live. But apologies in advance, we're probably going to get a whole lot of questions. And Annabel has been kind enough to answer a whole bunch of them offline, and we'll share the answers on our blog at kidsclubchildcare.com.au. So stay tuned. We'll do our very best to have both this recording and more answers with Annabel up within the week. But with that, let's start our first question. Annabel, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a question from Winnie, and she's actually a Kids Club mum, one of the children at my centre. What tips do you have for grazes or children who won't eat meals at home? They'll eat everything at daycare, sometimes requesting seconds. They all eat meals together as a family, but so she's been watched and she's not isolated at meal times, so please help.
Well, I kind of see that as a positive in some ways. And I saw it from my own eyes when I came to Australia and watched the children, because we were making these watermelon pizzas, and they're like watermelons, and then you have yogurt on top, and then you had berries on top of that. And some of the children were quite fussy and were very skeptical. They liked making it, but I didn't think they were going to eat it. But once they saw the other children eat it, even the one sitting next to her, who was the most fussy of them all, she eventually took a bite and then she finished the whole thing, and every single child ate the watermelon pizza. So I think there is this wonderful sort of peer pressure at nursery. So use it to your advantage. Find out what they're eating at nursery and make something similar at home. Let the nursery do the hard work for you and get them to take that first mouthful. Because what children do, which is so annoying, is that say, that's yucky, I'm not eating it, but they haven't even tried it. And then there's some tricks, not really tricks, but little tips. So when I make something like a cottage pie, a chicken potato pie, fish pie, instead of a dollop of fish pie on a plate, it can look quite unattractive. I put it into a small ramekin so they have their individual portion. Children like small bits of food, and they don't like food that touches each other, so keeping food separate. So just find out what your child's eating at nursery, make the food look attractive. Don't give too much attention for not eating, but pile on the praise for eating something new. And I think you'll find that will really help.
That's a great idea. And peer pressure in that way, so positive. We see it every day.
Yes, I know.
Well, hopefully that's helped you, Winnie, and some other parents out there. My next question is from Sarah. She has a 2 years, 8-month-old who's not very adventurous with food. She rejects her offer, tried to eat in front of her, but doesn't seem to work. So is there any other strategies I can adopt to try new foods?
So she's not trying new foods, and she's 2 years and 8 months. So my own son, when he was a baby, he was very fussy. And I've always been grateful to him for being so fussy, because had he been a good eater, I don't think I'd ever written my books. And he just wouldn't eat chicken. And I don't know why, because chicken is so versatile. So I'm thinking he loves fruit. He particularly liked apple. So I made up this recipe for chicken and apple balls. It was like minced chicken thigh, which is better than the white meat because it contains more iron, twice as much iron. It had then a little bit of chopped onions, some herbs, some breadcrumbs, a little bit of chicken stock. I put some grated carrot in, and I rolled it. Oh no, first of all, I put it into a food processor, so I chopped it all up. I put the grated apple in, and then I made it into balls, and I either fry them or put them in the oven. And because it had that like tiny touch of like sweetness from the apple, he loved them. And then he started to eat chicken. And getting to eat the chicken with the apple, I then moved on to roast chicken and other chicken meals. So sometimes it's like put something together with something that they don't like together with something that they really do like. And then you can find a way through it. Also, like, my children never liked eating cauliflower. And then I wrote a book called The Busy Mum's Cookbook. And I just made up this recipe for roasted cauliflower in the oven. I'd actually never roasted cauliflower in the oven before, but I just thought I'd try it. And I put a vinaigrette over it. And they loved it. And suddenly they ate cauliflower. So sometimes it's the way you cook it. It's like sweet roasted root vegetable wedges are delicious. But maybe they don't like when you mash sweet potato. So there's always different ways of presenting food to children. So I think it's worth trying different recipes. And we have a website, we have an app, we have books, you have your ebook, and there's so many variations to trying different foods. So I wouldn't give up on a food.
No. Honestly, I did the same thing with my son. One day he ate it all, and I was looking everywhere for it, but he'd already eaten it. To this day, he's 22 and loves his cauliflower. So I'm very lucky that way. Okay, so I've got another question for you. Are you ready? Okay, our next question is from Nikki, and she's wondering, what made you so passionate about making these recipes for children?
Well, that's a good question, because actually I think the why you do something in your life is so important, because it drives you through the difficult times, and every business or career has times where you think like, why am I doing it? It's so hard. So it was really what happened to me as a mum. I had always wanted to have children, and it took me 2 years to get pregnant. And eventually I gave birth to a little girl called Natasha. I was over the moon having this child. And when she was 3 months, I didn't think she looked quite right. And I called my doctor, and he just said like, oh, no, I'm sure she's fine. And I said, no, I really want you to see her. So I bundled her up, took her to see him. And then he gave me this lecture about how first-time mothers worry about their children, and they're far more robust than you think they are. So I went back home thinking I shouldn't have taken her. But the next morning she looked worse. So I took her to see another doctor, and he then examined her, said he was going to see another patient. But when he came back, he said, I didn't go and see another patient. I think your child's seriously ill. In fact, I think there's something wrong with her brain. Anyway, I took her to hospital, and she had encephalitis, swelling of the brain from an infection. She was then transferred to Great Ormond Street Hospital, and I was with her 5 days and 5 nights. And on the 5th day, they told me that the thinking part of her brain had gone. They took her off a ventilator, they put her in my arms, and she died. And my whole world fell apart. It was so unnatural to lose a child, and I didn't know what to do with myself. It was the most horrific, unbelievable, terrible time. And to be a mother and then no longer be a mother, it was just, I didn't know how to cope, to be honest. And the only thing that really helped me was I actually took a fertility drug called Clomid, which helped me to get pregnant. And within 4 months of losing her, I got pregnant. But it wasn't the end of the story, because I told my doctor when I was in labor that I was in labor, and he told me it'd be a long time. Anyway, I went upstairs to get my things to go to hospital, and my baby's head came out. I gave birth on the staircase. My husband delivered my second child, Nicholas, and no one came for 2.5 hours. So that was the birth of my second child. And Nicholas was literally the world's worst eater. And the combination of losing Natasha and the vulnerability of like being a mother who'd lost a child with a child who wouldn't eat made me think about like, I need to get this child to eat. And I was running a nursery, not as wonderful as your nurseries, but we had like 100 children come to this playgroup, which I started. And I was giving all my recipes out to the mums, because I found out they all had children who were like difficult eaters. And every week they say to me, like, your recipes are so good. You know, what else have you got? And after 3 or 4 months, they said, you should write a book about feeding children. So I started to write the recipes, and I researched child nutrition, and I spent 2 years writing my first book. It was the Complete Baby and Toddler Meal Planner. Couldn't get a publisher. Eventually I got it published by Random House, and it sold 5 million copies, now 6 million. So I always think, like, if you're a mompreneur out there and you have an idea, don't give up. And you will get there in the end if you have that passion and that love for what you do. And I really believed in my recipes. I believed that mums would like them and that children enjoyed them, and that other mothers like me would have had this terrible frustration about feeding their children. And for me, it was my legacy to Natasha to give something back, to make some sense of her life. And that was the reason why I started. So as I say, the why you do something is so important. And I think that what I do now will live beyond me. And what you do for yourself dies with you, but what you do for other people will live on. So for me, it's a passion and a legacy. So what I'm doing for children in the nursery, for me, is like, it's very heartwarming. I really do care about what children eat.
And it's a wonderful story to share with
the
people that go out and buy your books. And it says, you know, this is a vision, and you just kept it going. And now 6 million copies. I mean, that's not a small feat.
And we do a lot of work now.
Exciting.
Oh, thank you. We actually do a lot of work now with hospices, with children who have life-threatening diseases, and I help them. So, you know, for me, it's a lot about giving back. So it's a great career, and I love it.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So when I was telling people about Annabel Karmel coming to Australia to do our menus, that was the first book I bought, they did tell me.
Oh,
and I was
so nice.
excited. So it's really great that we've found a common ground with our families in Australia to the families in England.
Well, I also have a lot to thank. I got a phone call from the largest frozen food company in Australia to ask if I would come out and develop a range of food for them. So I think it's been 4 years since we've been in Coles and Woolworths, and it was all because of my books. Yes. So the books ended up being a food range. So I would never, ever thought that I would have a food range in Australia, but it's incredible. It's been so popular.
Yeah, and just from one little vision to worldwide. Wonderful. We are very lucky. But I've got another question for you from Tina. So Tina said, how many grams of chicken or beef is needed for a toddler for their daily intake?
Okay. Well, it's not exactly how many grams, because portion sizes, there aren't really portion sizes, but little ones, toddlers, need iron twice a day. So red meat is the best source of iron because it's the most easily absorbed source of iron. So it's interesting because when I was designing the nursery recipes, I got the guidelines from you, from Kids Club, to say that you wanted red meat on the menu 3 times a week, which I thought was fantastic because iron deficiency is the commonest deficiency in children, and you can't spot it. It's not like chickenpox, don't have spots, but children will be lethargic, more prone to infection. So eating red meat is really important. And I have to say that the quality of the red meat in Australia is incredible. So on the menus, you put beef casseroles, hidden vegetable bolognese, lasagna, all amazing ways of getting meat into your child. But of course, some of the children are vegetarian, so we need to cater for them too. So if your child's a vegetarian, in order to absorb meat from something that's a vegetable source of iron, you have to combine it with vitamin C. And some people don't realize that. So they're eating spinach, they're eating whole grain cereals, they're eating lentils, all good sources of iron. But unless you have like strawberries or a glass of orange juice or something that contains vitamin C, you can't absorb it. So we've made sure that when we do those recipes on the menu for Kids Club, and they're vegetarian sources of iron, we combine them with vitamin C, because it's often the combination of foods that matter. So when we designed your recipes, we looked at them to be nutritionally absolutely complete. And when you think about it, a child who comes to nursery could be eating 70% of their nutrients at nursery. So it's really important. Right. So we've done a lot of the hard work for you, hopefully, by giving them plenty of iron at nursery.
Exactly. So I've got another question for you. And this one's from Amy. I'd love to bake some healthy veggie-based muffins. What's an easy recipe?
Oh, okay. So we've got an ebook, haven't we? And I think there's a carrot and cheese muffin recipe in that ebook. And it's recipes that you're serving up at the nursery. And I think you're going to share some of these ebooks with some of the parents. And there's a great recipe in there for cheese and carrot muffins. But there's also another muffin that we do at the nursery, which I absolutely love. And it's a recipe that I created especially for Kids Club. And it contains eggs. Eggs are the most incredible food. So it's got 5 eggs in it, which you beat. And then you add cooked new potatoes, which are diced. And you add peas, grated cheddar, some spring onions, and some chopped tomato. And all you need to do, you can make this at home, is you take a silicone muffin tray and you just whisk the mixture, put all the veggies in it, and the cheese, a little bit of salt and pepper, stick it into the muffin tray, put it in the oven for 25 minutes, and you have these incredible, like mini frittatas. They're amazing. I mean, I've been making them for myself because I love them so much. And the children, I think, are really enjoying them. And eggs provide so many nutrients for children. So getting your child to eat eggs is really good. Good recipes to try.
Look, our chef swears by eggs. She talks about them all the time. But I actually think we had that muffin today.
Oh, did you?
In the centre. And it was like very yummy.
It's very yummy.
Like, even having you talking about it now, it's like, oh, I think I need to go and take them home.
And also what's good is like a small portion. It's not like you've cut an omelette into pieces and it falls to pieces.
Exactly.
It holds together. It's a really good idea. Well, thanks.
And it's easy for them to take when they go off on, we have sometimes for late snacks. They'll take those muffins home with them, and it's nice and easy. It's contained. There's no rubbish, so parents can just rest assured their child's getting a nice, nutritious late snack without the hassle of putting a peel in the bin or a packet of chips. Much healthier is to have a muffin.
And these things are very quick and very easy to make. So
very easy. But like I said, they're going very fast here.
I'm so happy. That's so good. Good. Really good.
All right. Let's see if I've got any more questions. Okay. So Amy's actually said, thank you for answering my question on healthy veg. So
you've got to make them, Amy. They're so yummy. Make sure she gets the ebook. Yeah.
I will make sure, Amy, make sure you get this ebook. Okay. So now I've got another question for you. Thank you, Val. So this is from Douglas. And he says his son, who's 18 months, used to eat everything, beef, chicken, salmon, veggies. However, recently he's decided that rice, pasta, corn and banana are the only things he will eat. Is it just a phase, or should I try something here? I want him to have a healthy and balanced diet, but pasta and rice aren't necessarily helping me to achieve my goal. He never liked puree foods, and he knows exactly when I mix things that with his current likes with things that he used to eat. He's not concerned about the banana and the corn, but the fact that he wants this every day. So have you got any tips on this?
So it's interesting. Rice, pasta, corn and banana, they're all kind of the same color. They're like pretty bland, or like children often go for like beige food. It's quite odd. So it's kind of a phase. So I think you have to break the pattern, because if you keep on giving these foods, you're kind of giving in to him. And it's not such a bad idea if your child does miss a meal. So I think the problem often is that children are never really hungry, and a hungry child's a less fussy child. So you have to say to him, I'm really sorry, but none of these foods are in the house. I'm sorry, but there's none of them. But we have this. And if he doesn't want to eat it, say, well, fine, you can go off and play. And that, I know it's like hard to do that to a child. And you think, oh, I should be giving him something to eat. But unless you break that pattern and stop giving him those few foods that he likes, he probably won't stop eating them. And what I do is I like the chicken balls. I took all those lovely ingredients and I make little balls of food. And I find the children really like picking them up with their fingers. Eating as a family, bringing another child to the dinner table that's a good eater, like one has at nursery, that peer pressure. But also making sure that child's really, really hungry. Stop all snacks. Don't give fruit juice. A hungry child will try something new. It's just a matter of time. But the more you give the same foods, the more extremely fussy that child will become. And I know that we all feel like we'd rather get them to eat something than nothing. But sometimes nothing is better than something. It's just cruel to be kind. It's not really cruel. It's just like, don't give in. Because they will continue to eat those foods and you'll never break the pattern otherwise. So I would say, okay, it's this or nothing.
We get that here too. We get a lot of families who come in and say, my child is so fussy, they won't eat. And for the first couple of weeks, yes, it is that. But we continue trying those foods. And then one day...
And they break the pattern.
They break the pattern. And the next thing you know, they're eating it. And then, like you said, it makes them less fussy throughout the day.
Yes.
They're happier, they sleep better, they play better, and then we smile more. So,
and it's very unsociable as well. If you take your child to a playgroup or out for dinner somewhere, or they're going to someone's house and they won't eat, it's hard. They become unsociable. So it's really
Yes.
important. So, and I also would think, like, if that child loves to eat banana, you know, you put banana with other foods, like on cereal, or you use the pasta with a hidden vegetable bolognese. I know she said that he knows when food is hidden, but what you can do is you can do a double bluff. You can do a hidden vegetable bolognese with a few bits of chunky vegetables in them, and then you could just pick out the chunky vegetables and leave the rest of it, which has the blended vegetables, and you'll think he's a winner. It's a double bluff, psychological.
That is a good age. I wish when my daughter was that age, I'd done that. She's the fussiest eater ever, and she's 19. But you know, we keep trying. So I have another question for you, and Douglas has said thank you very much for that
It's my
answer.
pleasure.
Tanil said, I always feel guilty when my child eats potatoes, a demonized veggie. Are they really that bad?
They're not bad. It's just that potatoes don't count as one of your 5 a day. So if you're going to give a kind of potato, I would give a sweet potato, which does count. And in fact, if you roast sweet potatoes in the oven, it caramelizes all their natural sugars. And you can put things like a little bit of grated cheese on them, a little bit of smoked paprika, and they're absolutely and completely delicious. So I would try and, if you're doing a potato topping, do potato and carrot or potato and sweet potato, because otherwise it doesn't count as one of your 5 a day. And also, like, I don't know whether spiralizers have come to Australia, but what we have in England is you put this courgette or sweet potato through a spiralizer. It's really easy to do. And then you put it in the oven with a little bit of drizzled olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper, and it comes out looking like it's so delicious. I would defy any child not to eat it. And it's so easy. And in fact, in England now, you can buy spiralized vegetables straight from the supermarket. You don't have to spiralize them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they sell them in Tesco. It's amazing. And it looks like spaghetti. But it's so easy to make them, really. And they're very cheap to buy spiralizers. And that is a very good way of getting kids to eat vegetables.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kmart in Australia have them. Okay. Oh, I've got another question for you. All right, so this is from Helen. I hear that processed foods are not good, but my child loves ham. They also don't eat fresh veggies either. What should I give him when he isn't at childcare?
Okay. Ham is quite high in salt, and generally processed foods like pizzas and chicken nuggets are also high in salt. So you have to look at the back of the pack. And salt is a very bad thing for children to have. First of all, it predisposes them to like salty food. And salt's the biggest killer because it then leads to heart disease and, you know, high blood pressure. And what we give our children in the early years, we're training them for their eating habits for life. So in my range, which we sell in supermarkets, everything is low salt. So it's very important to look at the salt content. And actually, children shouldn't have more than, in one day, 3 grams of salt, 3 to 4 grams of salt. So do look at the back of pack. So you can make your own healthy junk food. This is what I do. I make my own chicken nuggets and I coat them with crushed, we call them Rice Krispies in England, and crushed cornflakes. And I bake them in the oven and I use good quality chicken. I make my own ice lollies and I puree like watermelon and berry fruits and I just put it into an ice lolly mold. Children love it. I make my own burgers. I put grated apple and grated carrot into them. And I make my own pizzas. And you can use a tortilla for the base. You can use split toasted English muffins or ciabatta. And that way you can give them kind of junk food, but you've made it yourself and it doesn't contain a lot of salt. And that usually works really well. And I've got a book called Real Food Kids Will Love. It has a whole section on how to make your own healthy junk food. It's published by Macmillan in Australia. It's definitely worth looking at.
Oh, we'll definitely put that on the reading list. I know we made our own, we call them ice box out here, ice lollies, and the children cut up their own fruit and put it in there, and they had a ball eating them, and they thought they were so decadent, and they was being, you know, eating something they, you know,
yes, it looks naughty. It looks naughty, but it's good because you have chocolate orange energy balls in. I put them on your menu, and actually they've got oats and all good things in them, but they look like chocolate.
Yummy stuff. Yeah, exactly. So, oh yes, I'll have some of those, please.
Yeah.
So yes. So I'm just going to check and see if we've got any other questions with my lovely Val in here. Any more questions, lovely Val? Oh, we do from Amelia. Should a 2-year-old no longer have a bottle, 150 mils, or 2 of cow's milk? My son is in the 50th percentile. He eats most things but refuses pasta or rice since about 13 months of age. Please help.
Okay. Of course, like little ones love bottles. They like the sucking. It's very comforting. So for the first 6 months of life, milk will provide you, well, formula milk or breast milk provides you everything your baby needs. But we have to give solids at 6 months because milk does not provide you, particularly for critical nutrients like iron and essential fatty acids. These are two things that are so important. So we make sure in the nursery we put lots of iron-rich foods, and twice a week we serve fish, but oily fish, because oily fish is so important for your baby's brain. So the problem with giving too much milk, particularly in a bottle, is that your child could fill themselves up with milk and you're not getting the critical nutrients that your child needs. So it really depends what else your child is eating. But I think that having a bottle at 2 years is probably prolonging the bottle for too long, and your baby will take more milk because it's in a bottle. And I would try and move to a cup rather than a bottle and cut down the amount of milk to make sure that your child is getting a good balanced diet and is getting all the critical nutrients. And I think the two nutrients, as I said, are iron and essential fatty acids. And a lot of children don't eat oily fish. And the only way to get essential fatty acids is actually eating something like salmon. And we do like amazing, we do like glazed salmon with a Chinese style rice at nursery, which is delicious. So we make sure that children at nursery are eating oily fish. It's the most important thing for the formation of their brain and their visual development. So do make sure, even at home, you're giving oily fish. It's really important.
It is. It helps.
Oh, and tin tuna. Fresh tuna contains essential fatty acids, but tin tuna doesn't.
Exactly. It's not as good for you.
No.
So yes, no. I know they love the fish here, and they will eat it, and it is very yummy. I'm not a big fish eater, but I know when our chef brings it out, it's like, oh, we'll have some of that, please.
That's good. That's good.
Yes. I'm just going to check if there are any other questions coming up. I know they're coming in thick and fast here. Oh, and this one's from Amy. So she has an 18-month-old who loves fruit. She loves it very much, apparently. I worry she has too much fruit at times, especially things like sultanas. Is this bad for her?
Actually, probably yes. I mean, fruit in itself is very good, and you have to have your 5 a day, and some people are saying you have to have 10 a day. I think we're starting with the 5 a day at the moment. But the problem with fruit is that it goes through your body and it has quite a lot of fiber. And fiber can deplete your body of very important minerals, including iron. So it's a balance of what you eat. It shouldn't be too much fruit or too much of anything. And I think that you'd have to limit fruit. But things like sultanas, I would never give something like raisins or sultanas as a snack because even though they're natural, they're sticky and they contain fruit sugar. And fruit sugar will do just as much damage to a child's teeth as eating a sweet. And a lot of parents think, well, raisins are a good snack, but they're not, because anything that sticks to the teeth that contains sugar will damage your children's teeth. So I always think that between meals, try and have things like cheese or sandwiches or anything that doesn't contain sugar, because the frequency with which children eat sugar that does the most damage to children's teeth. So even fruit between meals, like apples or oranges, will erode the enamel on your children's teeth. Try and keep fruit as part of the end of a meal rather than an in-between snack, and rather give vegetables. Because it's a shame, so many children in England having teeth extracted at the age of 3 or 4. And it's because, like, sometimes they put fruit juice in bottles, which is the worst thing you could do. Or sometimes they think they're doing the right thing by giving them lots of dried fruit, and actually it's destroying the enamel on their teeth. So be careful.
Yes, there's been a few studies over here as well, and people not understanding that fruit can have as much sugar as what would be giving your child a bottle of Coke, and you wouldn't do that.
No, but you don't realize it. And actually, brushing your child's teeth off, drinking orange juice, can be worse than not brushing them, because you're almost brushing the acid into the teeth. What you need to do, the best thing to do, is give them a piece of cheese, because the cheese neutralizes the acid on the teeth. So the best thing, actually, in between meals, is cheese. So the French got it right. That's why the French always end their meal with cheese.
Yeah, I think Ballard would agree with that. That cheese is a good
French,
thing. Cheese naughty. But no, that's a really great sort of thing for parents to know.
It's good to know.
We tell the children to swish, to drink and swish around their mouths. and then swallow it. So instead of brushing their teeth all the time, to get all those little bits out of their teeth.
Water, yeah.
I've got another one for you. This is from Jeffrey. How do I make meals interesting for children?
Presentation and the way food looks is so important. So if you have fruit in a fruit bowl, your child probably walks straight past it, would never eat fruit. But if you take bite-sized pieces of fruit and you put them onto a straw and you make them into a skewer and you put them on a plate and they're coming home from school, they'll probably eat that because it looks so enticing. And you do the same thing with vegetables. You make salad kebab, say you've got cucumber, chicken, piece of cheese, cherry tomato, and you put it onto a kebab. So it's the way you make fruit look enticing or other foods look enticing. And I talked about making mini portions in ramekins or making small balls of food.
Yes.
So they eat with their eyes, and sometimes they like separation of food. So these plates to have 3 divisions can be good. So you put your broccoli in one place, you put your chicken in another place, and your sweet corn in another place. Sometimes, like say you make a fruit jelly and you put fruit in the jelly, they won't eat it. But you have the jelly and the fruit separate, they'll eat it. And that's just children. They just have their own little ways. And sometimes you have to respect them. And I do respect children who don't like something sometimes. I don't actually like beetroot. However, I do like chocolate beetroot brownies. So there are always ways to get children to eat them. So sometimes you can't force a child to eat something. It's rather like, I won't give you that now, but I'll reintroduce it in a week's time in a different way and see if you'll eat it. Because they change their minds about things. And also, if you give them, they do. And the thing is, like parents, like they're so excited when they find something they like, they give it over and over again. And in the end, the child never wants to see this food ever again because it's just been they've had too much of it. So be careful not to fall into that trap. We all are.
Yes. So, Annabel, do you have time for a couple more quick questions? Okay. So, who we got here? From Hitachi, what would you recommend for a teething baby who refuses to eat textured food?
Okay. Actually, for teething babies, these fruit, you call them ice pops or what do you call them here? The ice lollies. You call them ice blocks. For a teething baby, these are the best things. I actually make these little mini ice block molds, and you put fruit into them, and they can hold them with a handle. And something cold is really, really good for their teeth. And you can actually make banana ice cream by just freezing banana. You cut it into like slices, you freeze it, and then you put it into a processor. And as you whiz it, it eventually becomes ice cream, and all it has in it is banana. But you can add other things into it. I made a banana and peanut butter one, and I just put it into the fridge. They loved it. Another good thing for teething babies. But the other thing is they don't like surprise lumps. So sometimes I stir tiny pasta shapes into their favorite food, and that overall pasta kind of chewy texture they do like. And it's just experimenting. I think the thing is not to have like smooth and then surprise lump, have overall texture like mash or grated or pasta put it into a sauce. Or do try making your own ice blocks. They will really, I think that'd be very popular. And soothe the child's gums. I mean, children do go off they do go off their food when they're teething. It's quite normal. And it is quite a worry. But try something cold.
Yes, we get a lot of parents asking that.
Yeah, it's hard.
Teething,
I know, and they get these red cheeks, and that's one of the things they stay up at night. It's horrible. Yes, so I really sympathize.
Yes. All right. So, here's a good one. So this is from Amy. What are appropriate amounts of sugar per 100 grams in snacks for a toddler to consume?
Well, that's. I don't really like adding sugar if I don't need to. You can actually make snacks sweet by adding things like dates and dried fruit rather than free sugar. But at the same time, if you're making like maybe a crumble and it's got like blackberries and raspberries, I do add a little bit of sugar. But I might add like 2 tablespoons in 8 portions. It's not a lot. But I mean, food has to be enjoyed, and I'm not like a control freak when it comes to sugar, because I think that food is there also for enjoyment, and if it doesn't taste good, children won't eat it. So I'm not aggressively healthy. I will add sugar to a cake, and I think that's okay. But it's when children eat sugary foods as the norm and frequently. But you'll find in my books that I do make proper cakes with sugar, butter, and all those kind of things. Because if you don't give children treats, when they go out of the home, they're going to search them and they're going to be the forbidden fruit. They're going to want them all the more. So when I had my kids, we had chocolates and we had cakes at home, but I made them this incredible salads and salad dressings. And they didn't really want the cakes or chocolates. But I think if I'd banned them and I said, you can't have cakes or chocolates, they would have wanted them all the more because it's just psychological. So I had them at home, but I made other things, healthy food, taste so good. They didn't crave the sugary food. So I think banning it sometimes can be kind of counterproductive. So I'm okay with it to a limited extent. So whatever makes it palatable is okay.
That's correct. And like you said, by offering them something sweet, they're not going to go looking for it. We had a graduation ceremony for our preschoolers, and we said you could have any cake you'd like, anything you'd like. And they chose to have a watermelon cake. And it was made with watermelon and fresh fruit and strawberries, and that's what the children wanted. And they were given like this whole big thing they could have, but that's what they wanted, and we were so proud of them.
That's amazing.
That's what we've been working on, our healthy foods versus our sometimes food. So yes, so they've got to have
the watermelon I had at your nursery was so sweet. It was incredible. Incredible. It was fantastic. I mean, who wouldn't like that? It's incredible. So yeah, I mean, so I think just like making it the forbidden fruit makes it all the more tempting for children. So sometimes, let them have those foods, but make your own healthy foods so enticing that they don't actually crave them. And my children didn't. And everybody said, like, how did you do it? And I didn't really do anything. I just I allow them to have the foods, but I made other food that they preferred.
Yes. I think I'm going to go home and have a look at some of these recipes in your ebook. So thank you so much for your
Pleasure.
time, Annabel. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. But for the people out there, if you've been paying attention, you would have read we're releasing the free recipe ebook tonight, and that includes 10 of our favourite Annabel Karmel recipes for your children that we actually serve here at Kids Club. So to download your recipe ebook, you need to visit kidsclubchildcare.com.au/AK.
I can just say, I'm a big Instagrammer. So if anybody's on Instagram, take a picture of what you make, send it to me, and I will repost it on my Instagram story. It'd be amazing to see what you make from the ebook.
I think that's a great idea. So everybody out there, you like to Instagram your food. So once again, Annabel, thank you so much for taking the time with it.
Thank you very much.
And remember to keep up to date with Annabel. Look at her Facebook, her Instagram. Be sure to follow her there. And of course, make sure you sign up to our blogs at kidsclubchildcare.com.au and check out our latest blog. So thank you so much for joining us all tonight.
So much.
And hopefully we'll see you again real soon, Annabel, in Australia. But
I would love to come again.
We'll see you. So thank you, everyone, and good night. Bye.
Thank you.
Let's hope that's that.